I just spent so long trying to figure out where I should put this microphone to make sure it works, so we'll see what happens, but we will find out in post. Okay, so this video. Who asked for this video? Nobody, but I wanted to do it, so here we are. Hi, my name is Matthew, and you might know me as BLACKBOY on TikTok, it's BLACKBOY on Twitter, BLACK_Matt_ on Instagram, or you might not know me at all. For those of you who don't, I am a content creator that talks all things World of Wonder and Drag Race, especially that of Drag Race outside of the US. And today, for my second video ever, we are talking about a franchise that I think a grand total of like 36 people watched, myself included. On April 5th, 2022, World of Wonder, the production company behind the well-beloved brand RuPaul's Drag Race, added another unsuspecting nation to its conquest of Europe, this time invading the Scandinavian territory. Via Instagram, the production company announced that Drag Race Sverige, let me actually confirm that's how you pronounce it.
So, this is how you say Sweden in Swedish. Sverige.
Sverige. Sverige.
Sverige.
Sverige. Drag Race Sverige. For those of us monolingual English speakers, that is Drag Race Sweden. Although I am just noticing now that the Instagram post does actually say Drag Race Sweden, so yeah. Anyways, the overall reception of this announcement was relatively good, if you ignore that there was hardly any reception at all. The announcement of Drag Race Sverige provoked little fanfare amongst the Drag Race fanbase, especially if we compare it to other announcements that were happening during that time. 4 months after the Sweden announcement, on August 8th, 2022, World of Wonder posted this on Instagram, saying that they are looking for talented drag artists in Brazil. Keep in mind that this was not the official Drag Race Brazil announcement. That was still 5 months away. This post is just hinting that WoW is looking for talented Brazilian drag artists. They do not say why or for what, but this post still garnered 35,000 likes, and it took the fanbase by storm. Sverige's announcement, under 7,000 likes, barely over 6,000. Part of the reason why Brazil's announcement, I don't even know if I can call it an announcement, like more like a hint. Part of the reason why Brazil's hint at a drag race received so much attention is because over the years, a large part of the fan base mobilized and expressed their interest in a Drag Race Brazil. I think this movement for Brazil started in the early years of Drag Race expanding worldwide, and I like to call this era the first wave of expansion. When World of Wonder was announcing UK, Canada, Holland, Brazil was at the top of a lot of people's lists. And trust, I will be making a video about Drag Race Brazil soon when it comes out. I can't think of a single person that was mobilizing for Drag Race to enter Sweden, except maybe those who live in Sweden itself, but even then. So when World of Wonder announced this new franchise, the overwhelming response was lukewarm. Sure, those who paid attention were ecstatic, but there wasn't enough attention that the announcement made a big splash. In fact, I looked through a lot of the comments on the Instagram post, and a huge chunk of them were asking, where's Drag Race Mexico? Where's Drag Race Brazil? My personal favorite is this long stream of comments right here that says, Mexico please, we want a Brazilian version ASAP. I'm still waiting for Mexico and Brazil. Donde está Drag Race Mexico? I don't know, it's quite funny to me. Nonetheless, with every new franchise that World of Wonder announces, there is an indescribable curiosity that comes along with it, especially to fans that willingly watch every franchise and season. It's like, okay, you know, I have no idea what the drag is like in Sweden, but this is going to grab my attention and ignite that curiosity. I want to know what Swedish drag is like now. It almost instantly creates an underdog of a franchise. And if you ask my humble opinion, it delivered. Was it the best season ever? Did it reach the heights of the first season of Drag Race España? No, but I wouldn't expect that from the first season of Drag Race Sweden. I wouldn't expect that from the premiere season of any Drag Race franchise. But Drag Race Sweden held its own and took a lot of risks that I think really paid off. But in my experiences online, the attention to this franchise outside of Sweden itself is minuscule. Which, if you remember the fan response from the announcement, is not necessarily warranted, but expected. However, I think that is doing this franchise a huge disservice. So that's what today's video is, my second video ever. Kind of recapping Drag Race Sverige, telling you why I think it's a hidden gem, and or maybe convincing you to watch it if you haven't yet. I don't know. I don't really have a goal. This is only my second video ever, so I don't really know what I'm doing. But I digress. Anyways, so first, I do want to talk about the cast of this first season, because obviously the first and foremost thing that people watch Drag Race for is for its cast. This cast, as with any season of Drag Race, is oozing with talent, but it's where we start to get little inklings of the unorthodox practices of Drag Race Sverige, because yes, this cast technically is populated by all Swedish drag artists. However, at least 3 of them are not based in Sweden. Before you guys correct me, yes, Fontana is from Brazil, but she is based in Stockholm. The 3 that are not based in Sweden include Santana Sex Machine, who is based in Berlin, Germany, Endigo, a famous YouTuber who's based in Tokyo, Japan, and of course, Antonina Nutshell, who is based in Liverpool in the United Kingdom. And trust, we will talk about Antonina Nutshell. But let's highlight the rest of the cast first. In addition to the 3 contestants not based in Sweden, we also have Almighty Aphrodite, I'm a Queen, Electra, Vanity Vane, Fontana, and, of course, Admira Thunderpussy. You can say a lot of things about Drag Race casts, except unnecessarily cruel things. Keep those out of my comments. I don't want to deal with that. But this cast, for me, is actually quite a pleasant surprise. Again, I went into Drag Race Sweden with A, absolutely no expectations, and B, no knowledge of drag in Sweden. So I was going into this with an absolutely cleansed palette. But this cast has delivered. And I think it actually birthed some of my favorite Drag Race alum, like, ever. Santana Sex Machine, Fontana, Admira Thunderpussy, who we will be talking about, trust and believe. But of the whole cast, I do think that their talents were well exhibited both on and off of the runway. It should be noted that I think the one thing this season lacked was the drama, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if you are a Drag Race fan that thrives on the drama of a season, this isn't the season for you. However, the cast still had a healthy dynamic. It kind of reminds me of Drag Race Season 9, which really didn't have much drama outside of the reunion and Linda Evangelista Gate. But for what they lacked in drama, they made up for in fun, discourse, and more. So one of the highlights of Drag Race Sverige Season 1 is that you can tell that they all lived for not only themselves, but for each other. Every episode featured fun workroom dynamics that were always punctuated with really emotional moments of the queens confiding in each other. For example, Endigo sharing their journey with their gender in episode 3, Antonina opening up about being assaulted in episode 4, and Fontana talking about her religious trauma in episode 5. And at each moment, all the queens in the room came and supported each other. This was a safe space for them, and that created a really healthy environment for them to talk about their traumas and share it not only with each other, but with us, the audience. I really think that added to the soul and the heart of this season. And that soul and that heart is really thanks to the queens that are part of this cast. But now, as I'm talking so highly of this cast, it's only natural that I take the opportunity to talk highly about one person in particular. The winner of the season, Admira Thunderpussy. If you guys have watched or listened to The Cup of Reality, I was a guest on 2 of their Drag Race Sverige episodes, one discussing episode 4 and the other discussing episode 5. And I'm telling you guys, I took every opportunity I could to sing my praises for Admira.
She's one of like top 5 motheriest mothers in all of Drag Race. Like yeah. I have never seen such an amazingly cunty bitch than Admira Thunderpussy, and I love her.
She just had the attitude, the mothertude, the servitude. Everything about Admira was captivating and exciting. You could argue that Admira served the same old glamour we've seen before on Drag Race, but there was always something special, something extra that really gave Admira an edge. One example that I can think of first is the episode 5 Dragoldi Festival. The runway theme this episode was transformation, essentially a reveal runway. Admira comes out in this glamorous robe that you'd see on a 1940s Hollywood starlet. And then she takes it off to reveal the exact same robe in a different color. Then she takes that off and it's the same robe but shorter and a different color. And then she takes that off. And then it's the same robe, except now it's a bodysuit and, of course, it's a different color. And then, you'll never guess what happens next. She takes that off to reveal the same dress as the first, except now it has 2 slits on either side. The idea of Admira not giving us just 1, just 2, just 3, but 4 reveals, only for those reveals to be just the exact same except shorter and shorter, is just tongue-in-cheek enough that you just have to laugh at it and gag over it. It reminds me of Ginny Lemon on UK2 during their reveal runway, when Ginny revealed the exact same look. I live for that stuff. It's just irreverent enough. It's just cheeky enough that you have to fall in love. And that was episode 5. Up until this point, I had kind of been feeling Admira out. I liked her, but I was waiting for something big, and this was it. And after this moment, I just became an Admira stan. Admira throughout the whole season really was just a joy to watch. It took her a few episodes to show up because she didn't win her first challenge until episode 4, halfway through the season. But once she did, it was the Admira show every single week, and I lived for it. That's not to say that she overshrouded the other contestants. No, no, no. Trust and believe they each got their moments to shine. Fontana is a great example. Every week, Fontana was a pure beacon of joy and talent and was undeniably the fan favorite of the season. Why do my hands look like that? Oh well. So with that in mind, seeing Admira and Fontana being the top 2 of the season really just made sense with my fantasy. Like, I don't think anything could have made it more ideal. Well, except having the 2 of them lip sync for the crown in the finale. You know, while we're on the topic, I think that marks a good segue into the critique of Sverige. Now, with Drag Race Sverige being the premiere season of a Drag Race franchise, it's not going to be perfect, which is okay. However, if I'm going to make a video singing my praises about Drag Race Sverige, it's only fair that I talk about its drawbacks. So, to start off, going back to highlight what I said earlier, Drag Race Sverige made the interesting choice of not having a lip sync for the crown. The top 3 was made up of Admira Thunderpussy, Fontana, and Vanity Vane. Fuchs, the host, calls Vanity Vane as 3rd and announces Admira and Fontana as the top 2. Normally on any other season, this would be the opportunity for the top 2 to lay it all on the table and lip sync one last time. Oftentimes, it is the highlight of a season because it is the last thing we see before we crown a winner. I mean, think of the emotional drive of Vanessa Van Cartier versus My Little Pony on Holland 2. Think of the iconic wig reveal of Carmen Farala on España 1. And the season just didn't do that. Yeah, Fuchs just kind of announced the winner. No lip sync, just the winner. I mean, I guess it gets to the point, but it feels just so anticlimactic. All 36 of the fans that watched, including me, thought, oh, that's it? So it ended kind of just wah-wah, you know what I mean? That'll be an important note for season 2, if they ever get a season 2. To end on a classic epic hurrah, not just a measly, oh, okay. The next point of contention I have is rather brief, but I think that there was a certain level of inconsistency with the twists. The first thing I want to mention is the brief appearance of immunity. That's right, immunity. On the premiere episode, Elektra won immunity not by winning a maxi challenge as is in seasons past, but by winning the mini challenge. This, we all thought, was going to be a game changer, because it's the first time since Drag Race US season 5 that immunity has made an appearance. Technically All Stars 4 as well too, with Manila and Monet, but I don't know where to categorize that. So when that first episode dropped, we all thought, okay, immunity is going to be a game changer. It's going to be an important key throughout this whole season. However, this turned out to only be a 1-episode affair, because immunity was never mentioned again. I count this as a flaw because I feel like it was a waste of potential. Immunity isn't some silly bonus you rely on once. In my opinion, it should be a consistent tool throughout at least the first half of a season. When you employ it only once, and that one time it didn't even amount to anything because Elektra was safe anyway, we as viewers are left wondering what was the point at all. Then the other major twist of this season is the comeback. Though I don't necessarily think it is a flaw, I just don't know where else in the video to put this. I figured since we're talking about twists that this would be the place to bring it up. So in the 4th episode of Sverige, the eliminated queens of Aphrodite, Antonina Nutshell, and Indigo returned and participated in the reading mini challenge. Whoever of these 3 read the other girls the best got the chance to return, and that queen being Antonina Nutshell. Upon her return, Antonina would have one of the most interesting and captivating legacies in Drag Race history. That's right, we are finally talking about the mysterious case of Antonina Nutshell. Antonina Nutshell finished 5th on Drag Race Sverige Season 1, but she originally finished 8th. She was eliminated in the 2nd episode, but as I described it before, she earned the chance to come back after the reading challenge. And the episode that she returned, Season 1, Episode 4 of Drag Race Sverige, will go down as one of the craziest episodes of Drag Race ever. Because Antonina, immediately upon returning, was in the bottom, but she was in the bottom with fellow contestant I'm a Queen. I'm a Queen, up until this point, was the frontrunner. She was in the top 3 episodes in a row, every episode up until this point, and one of those episodes was in fact a win. So I can tell you, when I was watching live and seeing that the bottom 2 was frontrunner Ima and returnee Antonina, I thought that Antonina would go home again. I think that I've been conditioned to assume that every time a returnee is in the bottom, their fate is sealed. Kenya Michaels, Carmen Carrera, Trixie Mattel, all of them went home the first time they were in the bottom after being brought back. And I thought Antonina would be the same. And then the lip sync started. Though I don't think it's like a good lip sync, it is undeniable that Antonina did better than Ima in this performance. But there was still an inkling that Ima would probably stay, right? After all, she is the frontrunner, and Antonina is a returnee, and not only a returnee who's been in the bottom 3 every single episode that she's competed on. Nope. Ima got eliminated, and Antonina stayed. I remember when I was on Twitter, I was going absolutely crazy over this, even though nobody knew what was going on because I'm the only person that watched the show. But it's not that I was upset, but to me, it was honestly iconic. I was gobsmacked. We had never really seen anything like this up until this point. You know, in Eliminated Queen, returning to the competition that same season, being in the bottom immediately after coming back, and then not only winning the lip sync, but winning the lip sync against the frontrunner. This situation has only happened once before, on Drag Race Thailand 2 with Kana Warrior. I know that there are examples like Latrice on All Stars 4 and Diabetti on Season 14, who did survive their first bottom placement after coming back, but right now I am talking about instances where a queen was in the bottom immediately upon returning. But I digress. Anyways, where Kana differs from Antonina Nutshell is that after being in the bottom upon her return, it was a double shantay. Antonina actively sent someone home. And not just anybody, I'm a Queen. Keep in mind, this was before Admira really started to dominate the season. So Ima was the biggest threat up until that point. Antonina, a returnee, sending her home was iconic. Personally, it made some gag-worthy TV, and I don't think I will ever forget it. Outside of this moment, Antonina still had an interesting legacy of never placing outside of the bottom. She was low, eliminated, bottom, low, eliminated. There was never a single time she was in the top or even safe. And in a camp way, this was iconic in and of itself. I remember at a certain point, I was rooting for her to make it to the finale. Like, you know what? You go, Antonina. You make it to that finale. Sadly, this wasn't the case, and she was eliminated on episode 6. But even in her elimination, she was a humble and gracious energy, and that's consistent with who she was throughout the whole season. But yeah, I guess this is just a really long-winded way for me to say that I liked this season. It's not the best Drag Race season ever, of course not, but I feel obligated to share this with all of you who might not have watched, so that you might give it a chance. It has its drawbacks, sure, but there is plenty of fun, warmth, and gags to really enjoy this franchise. The cast was lovely, their talent was unquestionable. And if you choose not to watch this season, I would at least encourage all of you to go support all the Swedish contestants on social media, or maybe if you're in their area, go support them in person, because they do deserve it. As of the time I'm recording this, Sverige hasn't been confirmed for a season 2, and I really hope it does soon. Season 1 was such a joy, and I would hope that they could bring that energy again. Also, Santana Sex Machine, but as always, do not forget, I am just a gay person talking on the internet.